What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Ever Adaptive Podcast. I'm your host, Beckie Flowers, along with my co-host here, Sarah Budson.
What's up, guys?
Merry after Christmas.
Merry after Christmas.
It's this weird time between New Year's or Christmas and New Year's, and you're just like, you still got to work, but you're not in it.
Coasting. I don't know what day it is. I don't know what week it is. I don't know what time it is. It's dark all the time.
Welcome
We're
to the
here.
Midwest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
it's actually almost like 50 degrees out here,
It's
but
a little
it's
bit,
foggy.
yeah, it's like warmish here. Like the snow is melting. It's just like meh.
Yeah, right. It's just gray. It's like, blah.
Yeah. Yeah. How was your Christmas?
It was good. It was good. Nothing crazy. It was laid back, and I like it that way. How was
Yeah.
yours? You had multiple days.
Can't relate. Yeah. Um so at least for Christmas it wasn't as crazy as like Thanksgiving. Because his family is over in Battle Creek, which is like 2 hours away from here. So we did Christmas Eve out there, and then my mom's yesterday morning, and then my dad's yesterday afternoon, and then we went and trained last night too. So
Oh my
it
gosh.
was exhausting. And then we're going to his dad's on Friday. So today is like the okay, get our bearings, go again on Friday
You're
because they're
right.
they're 2 hours away too. So it'll it's a long week, but
Very much
it's
so.
a long week, but at least it's like more spread out and it's not like let's shove everything into one day. So
That's the worst. And I always appreciate family that are okay with spreading it out. They don't want you there Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. That's
mhm.
how my in-laws are too. They're kind of like, whatever.
Yeah, whatever you can make work. Luckily, my mom is just like so laid back and she's like, I know you have to be at your dad's in the afternoon. Like, come over for breakfast. And so it's nice. Like, we had our morning here and then went out to mom's for a couple hours and then moseyed over to dad's. And then after we both ate, I was like, good thing I have legs tonight.
Right. Put all this to work.
Yeah, so
I still have
I
to
was
do
like, we
mine.
were both exhausted by the time we got home last night, but I had a really good training session. So
I saw clips of it.
yeah, I finally like feel like I think I don't know if I mentioned this on the podcast or not. I'm just like I'm having a hard time like after having to be so pulled back for so long. I'm having a hard time being tapped back into training to failure. It's been so long. And so like getting back to that place and like switching that switch of like
Mhm.
I know I can go more, like stopping little bitch. Like that is so hard to like get back into, but like I finally feel like I'm starting to get there. So
Good. That's
yeah,
exciting. I feel like I'm
yeah.
not
And
there yet.
and
It's
D
almost
was
like
there with
you,
me last night too. So like it was helpful to have him. Like had him come over for like my top sets and be like, just yell at me, please.
no, it makes a difference. That's
It
why I
does.
wish I had people closer to me that would train because I need someone to yell at me. Or at least just put the weight on the bar and just tell me I'm going to do it and shut up. Like, just do that.
Right.
But
You were gonna say something and then I cut you off. Sorry.
oh no, I feel like know that struggle with like the training, and it's almost like that part of my brain went soft and I can't get it back. It's almost like it broke and I'm
It's
like trying to
hard.
put it back together.
Yeah, it's so hard because like I mean, like I'll feel freaking tapped after my set, right? Like just completely gassed. And then like I'll look back at the video and I'm like, I probably had two more in me. Like, motherfucker. And then I
Right.
send it to Mark and he's like, yeah, you need to train harder. And I'm like, I know. It feels like I am.
In the moment, it's just that little brain, like little voice in your head.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're working on it. It's a work in progress, but I am because I'm in my growth phase now. So I am week by week increasing weight, increasing reps, like at least I'm like back to that mindset of like no more just like meeting or like barely improving. Like we
Hmm.
gotta take advantage of this time. So
Well, I saw you doing split squat. No, not split squat, split lunges.
mhm.
And what did you have? You had a plate and a 25 on there?
Oh no, no, no. It was a plate and a five.
Oh, okay. Well, I was impressed. Even just the plate, though, the plate like kills me.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So,
It's a lot. And so I'm like I said, making sure that I logbook everything and just I gotta like do what I can to beat last round. So
yeah, beat the law book.
yeah.
Well, someday, next year, new year, new me. On that note,
Completely contradictory to last year's New Year episode.
what we were such douches.
We're like, fuck New Year's. New
Fuck the
Year's
new
saved
year.
me.
No, I definitely one of these days I want to do like a back to the basics episode because I feel like it's so relatable for myself because I was such in that mindset of like New Year's save me like blah blah blah, but now I've lost myself and I'm like, how do I just get back to the gym like 4 days a week? That because
We
that's a
need to
struggle.
just like we need to just go back and listen to our old episodes.
We need to. I need to like listen to myself in prep when I was just like a monster.
Yeah.
I'd scare myself a little bit.
Okay, okay, okay. So we need to actually get to our topic today because I do think it's a good way to close out the year. There was a post that I found. It had to be quite some time ago because this was like deep in the note, and it was like just kind of discuss these talking points. So it was like something posted by the Daily Stoic, and it's just like I think they call it, yeah, it's like 30 short rules for a better life from the Stoics. So just talking points, and like I think that it all has really valuable little just like quick blips to just kind of recap, and then we can just kind of throw some of our thoughts into some of these or just move on. And
Yeah,
yeah,
I like it, especially rounding out the year.
yeah.
Um,
And I love the first one on here because it's something so, I feel like it's something that I'm constantly having a hard time with.
Same. Well,
Yeah.
I think we both got into gut protocol because we have a hard time with this.
Yeah. So anyway, the first one on here, it is focus on what you can control, right? So I am such a freaking control freak, like so guilty of it. It is what it is, right? But like, going back to being adaptable,
Mm-hmm.
letting go of what we can't control. Like, it's fucking hard, man.
It is. But I also I still struggle with this. I really don't have any good things on controlling what you can control. Like I can do that, but focusing on what you can control, that's hard for me. Um, because controlling what you can control, like I think about what we were just talking about with the gym and getting back to the basics. Like you can control those little things. But taking the focus off what you can't control is hard. And where was I going with this?
I mean, it's it is literally just a shift of energy, right? Like if you're constantly worrying about what you can't, that's gonna eat up everything. And before you know it, time's flown by, and it's like if I just stick to my basics, focus on what I can control, like no matter what, world's gonna keep fucking spinning. So
Mm, yeah, I think that's a good reminder that no matter what, things are going to happen and we just have to do what's the next right thing? Like, what's the next step that we can take? even if
Yep.
it's just like moving your feet.
Yep. Tiny steps, but
Hmm.
it's something that you can control, and that's all that you have grasp of. Like, that's it. Do it anyway.
I feel like I needed this one today
Ah!
because I told you, I'm like, my phone's blowing up. I have zero control on what I can do right now. And it's been eating me alive for the last 3 hours. So
There
thanks.
it is. Yeah.
Now we can start the
All right.
podcast. Thank you.
All right. Go ahead with number two.
All right, number two, you control how you respond to things. Ooh, this is another good one.
Becky, by the way, did not read any of these.
No, she literally sent this to me as we were getting on the podcast. So as I'm having these revelations,
You're like, shit.
well, I need that one too. Okay, so you control how you respond to things. That's huge. And I think that was a big thing that I learned in my gut protocol. Like how I
Oh yeah.
respond to things is what landed me in gut protocol. So the spiral that I will go down, it's not helpful. And you taught me, I want you to talk on what you do because you taught me where you just take a step back and you like have to breathe and you position it some way in your brain that you can only say because you're so eloquent with it. But it helps a lot when you like just sit back and you think about what this actually is compared to everything else. You go because I can see you're like chomping at the bit.
I don't even know what I'm going to say with this. Like, no, it is something that I have gotten really good at because it's something that I've been put in a lot of different situations where other people respond or react in a way that I have witnessed that I'm like, that's not going to be me. Like,
Yeah.
being able to realize when there's so much friction going on around you or whatever, um, you can't just blindly react or respond. You have to like I've gotten so good at just like stepping back, like gaining my thoughts before I calculate a proper response. Because my biggest thing, and like it's so hard because it feels cryptic because it's applicable to so many different situations, right? But like, say it's, between you and someone, right? You're butting heads or whatever the case. Like, if I step back and like evaluate and like actually sit and like formulate my thoughts, I'm going to have I'm less likely to respond with emotion. Nothing good is going to come out of
Yeah.
responding with emotion, And it's like, as long as I can look back on the situation and be like, I'm cool with how I responded, like the rest is on whoever, you
Yes.
know? And that's fine. It's like, if I can sleep peacefully at night with the way that I reacted or responded, I'm good, you know?
Mhm.
Um, and making sure that it's not, something that you look back on and be like, fuck, like I was crazy or like, it's it's really easy to respond out of emotion
Mhm.
and it's a skill to learn to like swallow your pride, not just react, like take a couple breaths and actually compose yourself. You're gonna you're gonna more than likely have a better outcome.
I loved what you said just there that it's a skill because how many of us, when we were growing up, were a little crazy and like you just react. And I have a very hard time even now doing that. But it is a skill to learn and you're gonna fail and you're gonna have to do it again. One thing that I'm really working on is acceptance of that other, like if we're having a issue of your point of view, accepting your point of view. It doesn't mean I agree with it or that it's right, but just that neutral acceptance and then moving on. I'm not
Yeah.
good at it, but working towards
It's a
it.
muscle. It's a muscle you have to work.
Definitely. Yeah.
It's it's hard. It's really hard too, but like it is so valuable to learn that skill and practice that skill over and over and over again in whatever situation, you know?
Every situation. I mean, even as a parent with your kids or work relationships, everything can
Yeah.
go through that.
Yep,
All
yep,
right.
yep.
Number
All
three.
right, let's move on. Ask yourself, is this essential? That's good.
I like it. Just,
Because how many of us waste time on things that are not necessary?
hmm Well, and it goes back to, I don't know. I just started doing this when I started feeling like I was losing myself, is my just 5 daily tasks. Like that is all that I need to get done. Cutting
Yeah.
out the noise of everything else.
Yep. I like that. And I mean, it's simple.
Hmm
There's not much explanation needed to it. I think it's a good way to focus and prioritize.
I agree. All right, number four. Meditate on your mortality every day. Shit. This this one's heavy, dude. This is a well, I guess I shared last week of my whole thing with this year, but this is a heavy one. I do this daily for myself, but then also my children. And
Yeah.
maybe that's very morbid, but that that's always in the forefront of my mind.
Hey, we got limited time.
We do. And why are we going to waste it?
Yeah. It makes
Especially
me,
these things. Like,
yeah, yeah. It makes me think back to our episode with Heather when, gosh, I'm trying to remember what the subject was. I think we were talking about like kids and like just realizing like, no, like we're not immortal. Like we have limited time
yes.
here, you know, like how are you going to spend it?
Yeah. Yeah. And what's your legacy gonna be when you go?
Yep. And this actually ties right into the next one, value time more than your money and possessions.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. And that's also something that you said, you know, in our last episode too, like you're focusing on being more present
Mhm.
and that's something that I am definitely I have a hard time with, you know, the phones, the work, you know. It's like be present in the now, like absorb where you are, like, you know, spending time with your family at Christmas. Like, yeah, it's crazy because you have to go all these different places and you have so much to do and there's so much busyness, but like actually absorb that time because this is also the second Christmas without my grandma and like it's still just not the same, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. But you wanna absorb the time with your grandpa and everyone else that's there.
Right.
That's just a good daily reminder, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, number six, you are the product of your habits.
Becky,
I am just like,
are you
I
okay?
no, no, I am not. No, I've been just struggling so hard that like all of these are like shit. You know it, but you need to have it in front of your brain at all times, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think especially this time of year too, like where I have been able to be more lax with my meals on holidays and things like that. It's like, hey, don't let that become a habit. Like this is
Mhm.
just a one time day, you know, like we are not going off the deep end with this. Like you gotta keep a lid on it, you know?
Yeah. Well, just like making the gym a habit, like that's a habit to build. Not getting in the gym is also a habit that can be built. So
It's easy
that's
to
so
let it slip
important.
away.
Hmm
And I think just knowing how much better you feel with keeping those habits in is a good reminder.
I agree. All right, number seven.
Remember, you have the power to have no opinion. Oh, shit.
Just say neutral.
There you
Is that
go.
possible?
It is possible. It's hard. It's real hard, but
I feel like I need more Botox for that.
I just got mine
Let's just be right
redone,
here.
so we're great.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
We're frozen.
I need a refresh. But no, that's a good reminder. Like, especially shit that's not about you. You don't need to
Mhm.
have opinion about everyone's life. It's not for you.
Yeah, and I think it's important to and no matter how hard I try to not be in friendships or relationships where other people are talking about other people.
Hmm.
Um, I I've started to get really good at like it still happens, right? Like no matter how much you try and remove yourself or whatever environment you're in, I have gotten really good at just listening and like being a chamber of secrets. And just, like some people don't need an opinion on things. They just need
Hmm.
someone to listen. And that's okay. You know, like some people
That's a
just
very
need an
good point.
ear.
Some people need to, it's almost like that verbal processing.
Yeah.
Like,
What
you
like
don't
you and
even
I
need
do,
words.
like we're
Yeah.
not necessarily, I mean, yeah, we're looking for feedback from each other, but you know,
But
different.
there's points where we'll be like, I just have to say this. Like, I just have to get this
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, and talking through it verbally, it does help. It
Hmm.
does help process things. And, even if it's not necessarily even to a person, like just make a voice note on it and, speak it. Like it could very much help. But being on the receiving end, right? Like you don't necessarily have to give your input or opinion on whatever someone is talking about, whether it's someone or something or whatever, like you don't have to involve yourself in it.
Agreed. That again is a skill. So
Yeah.
work that muscle. Okay, eight. Own the morning. I love this one.
You're good at this one. I'm not.
You know what though? It's going back to that habits. Like that slipped too. So it's another one that's on my list that I need to get back to. And I feel like on the morning, like it doesn't have to be you getting up at 3:30 in the morning. Like maybe you
No, it's
do.
just, yeah, it's just whatever makes sense for you to set your day up for success.
Mm-hmm. And it could be 10 minutes of gratitude and maybe a devotional before you get ready for work. Whatever you can do.
Yep.
All right. What are we on? Number nine?
Yep. Put yourself up for review. Interrogate
Ooh.
yourself.
Okay, so I like interrogate yourself, putting yourself up for review. That makes me nervous if I'm gonna like ask people for feedback. And it's a good nervous. It's like a nervous that I know that you need to do because I think it's important to ask. Like if I were to ask you for feedback, like people that I respect and I value your opinion, that's important.
Having those checks and balances and um also knowing whose feedback really matters and like whose you
Yes.
should take to heart, that also matters. Because some people will just blow smoke or, like it's either good or bad, but like you don't have to let everyone's opinion get to your head either.
Yes.
Um,
Ooh, good or
know
bad. That's good.
know whose word is worth actually absorbing and taking to heart and seeking improvements on those areas.
Hmm. And you
Now
might have
within
different people for
yourself,
different things.
yes, yes. Now within yourself, that's hard.
Hmm. Because I don't know about you, but my inner voice says that was garbage. Why'd you do that? Could have done better.
I think it's more of my like self-interrogation goes because I used to be such a go, 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 go person. And having to pull back and rest more and realize that like I need to be able to take time for myself. And that is also setting myself forward too, but like sometimes it doesn't feel like it. And finding that line to dance on is really difficult for me because I always feel like I need to be doing more.
I could definitely see that with you. But I'm very proud of you that you're learning to rein that in. Because when I first met you, that was like balls to the wall through a brick wall.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. And that's why I ended up where I was. And that's why I had to go through a 6 month gut protocol and everything else.
I know. But I mean, just even going back to our episode last New Year's versus this New Year's, just your mentality and everything has changed. And that's huge. Like that's a lot to go through. So
I think it's for the good. It's just
it
it's
is.
it's hard to find, like I said, that like line to dance on of making sure that you're still doing enough, but also making sure that you're resting just as hard.
Yes. And that's hard. I think that's harder than trying to go through a brick wall.
It is. It is so difficult.
All right. Number 10. 10. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, don't suffer imagined troubles. This
Oh,
is a good one.
oh, that is a good one. That is a really good one.
It is.
That kind of goes to the like, is this essential one?
I like it. I mean,
Yeah,
right there, that could be your check and balance of is this essential? Is this really going to happen or is this just something I'm imagining could happen if
spiraling
XYZ?
into, yeah, or like
Mm-hmm.
focusing on things that are not necessary to focus on, you know? Like
Mm-hmm.
so how many like there's so many people that do make their situation worse by just focusing on it or, it's like a self-inflicted pain, you know?
Oh yeah. Well, I know I'm very guilty of it. Like one thing goes wrong and then I will just spiral down into what else is going to go wrong because I think it's like that knee-jerk reaction to protect yourself. So you have to think of every possible thing that could go wrong, but you're really doing more harm than good. You're not saving
Yeah.
yourself.
No, it's there's a difference between like armoring yourself and like putting yourself into a negative mindset because something small or even big, has gone wrong, but like making it worse by staying there.
So what would you think that armoring yourself would be?
I mean, obviously, like mentally prepare yourself if something could go wrong, don't expect it to.
Got
You
it.
know, if you are able to like put yourself, like prepare yourself so that you're obviously not blindsided for something bad to go wrong. Again, so relatable to any different situation, but don't like stay there. Like just be like, hey, this could happen. And if it does, like, guess what? I'll handle it. It is what it is. The world will continue to turn, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Control what you can control, but don't stay in that I'm going to focus on what I can't control mindset because it's just wasted time.
I like it. I think that's valuable. All right, what's our next one?
I can't try to see the good in people.
Oh, that's
Hmm.
good.
This is good. And this is also something that I have had a really hard time with over the past couple years.
Hmm.
When I have been done wrong by a handful of people, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad people, and it could just be a projection of where they're at, and that's okay to recognize that. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're a bad person, maybe just because they're going through their own shit and you are the
Yeah.
one that they're taking it out on. Um, there are bad people. There are bad people. But knowing how to differentiate that, whether it was, like I said, just like a projection or like what is the actual intent behind it? Are they trying to hurt you or do they have some crazy shit going on too? And maybe they feel comfortable with you and it was just a projection or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Um, but knowing that like, hey, deep down, this person probably is a good person. We all fuck up,
Hmm.
myself included. And, you know, going back to, hey, has that person maybe done the work to recognize where they've hurt people and have they tried to make it better? Um, and if they haven't, that's okay. You know, it still doesn't necessarily mean that they're a wrong, they're a bad person. Maybe they still just have more growing to do.
Yeah.
Um, it's hard. It's hard when people shit on you to not be like, well, fuck you. Like, you
Hmm.
know, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're a bad person. A lot of times the way people treat you is just a reflection of what's going on internally with them.
I agree. Um, I also have heard it put, are they a good person doing a bad thing or are they a bad person? And I think when you put it in that way, it's like, oh, they are a
Yeah.
good person. Their just actions are really shitty right now.
Yeah. Yep. And we all get caught up in it at one point or another.
Oh yeah.
Um, but you know, I am a very self-aware person and you know, I try as hard as I can to when I do some, you know, something that would be, you know, typically out of character for me, like going back and be like, could have handled that differently. And then going further and to reaching out to that person and be like, hey, I could have done better here, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I'm sorry of X, Y, and Z.
Right.
I agree. And I feel like that self-awareness kind of will eat me alive too now because I have gone through so many situations where I have been the bad guy. Um,
Mhm.
so
It's hard. It's hard, but being open to owning your shit, that's also a really big step in the right direction.
and it's freeing. It's very freaking
It
freeing,
is. It is
even though
very,
it's
very,
tough.
yeah.
12. Never be overheard complaining even to yourself.
Mm,
Ooh, this is good.
this is
Because I
good.
feel like that complaining, even to yourself, it just sends, especially, I don't know, I do this where I will just spiral. Like one complaint will turn into many.
It's like staying, it's like choosing to stay in a storm, really.
I like that. I really like that. No, it's true. Because it's almost like, yeah, I'm just picturing these complaints like all around me. And it just, the more that you throw in there, you're just throwing more chaos around you that you're just surrounding yourself with that everyone else is going to feel around you too.
Yeah, that energy definitely transfers. And it's like,
Hmm.
I don't want that for myself or for others. So
Yeah. No,
that's
no,
not, I don't want to be a person that's putting negative out into the world because we have plenty of that.
it's true. I like that one. Okay, 13.
Next. 2 ears, one mouth for a reason.
Hmm.
Ain't that true?
It's so freaking true. You will learn more by listening than talking.
Yeah, you know, I sometimes I find myself because I usually am pretty reserved, you know, especially in like public situations, public settings. I'm I sit back and I watch and I just like absorb, like I'm a sponge. Like I just, you know, notice people watch, you know.
Hmm.
Um sometimes I find myself wishing that I was like more of the like outgoing entertainment, you know, kind of people, but it's like then I realized like I don't want to be that. Like I learned so much more by just observing and listening.
Yes. Well, and you attract the people that need you at that point because you do listen so well and you aren't like a look at me. And not that there's anything wrong with that. If that's like your personality, that's great. We need those too. But we also need the people that are reserved, that are going to listen, that are going to actually listen, not listen to respond. And I
Yep.
think that's key.
Yeah. I like that. Next. There is always something you can do.
There is. I love that because even when you feel like your hands are tied and what the fuck am I gonna do? Like it literally could just be going to bed. Like maybe that's all you can do.
Yeah. Yeah. And this kind of brings me back to where I was last year when I just had like so many different things going on, like October last year.
Hmm.
Where it's like there were so many like really, really chaotic things happening at once. And it's like, you know what? All I can do right now is stop and like let the dust settle so that I can actually see forward to see where my next step is. And that was so, so necessary. And if that's all you can do, that's fine because that's still going to set you up to be moving in the right direction at some point. Just don't stay there.
Exactly. I like it. Um,
Don't compare yourself to others.
I think that's perfect. I think that's been a big life lesson of my own. Just because I am more of like the quiet, reserved type, and I've always wanted to be like the outgoing, just bubbly type, and that's just not me.
Yeah,
But
same.
but we're needed. Like we are needed humans in this chaos. So I think you lose a lot of
Reminder.
yourself by comparing.
Yeah, good reminder. I don't
Hmm.
even think we need to expand on that because like everyone hears the spiel of like, oh, don't compare yourself, to other people online or don't compare your chapter one to someone else's chapter 30, like we all know that. So,
Exactly. Yeah, you just need to remind yourself.
right.
Number 16, live as if you've died and come back. Every minute is a bonus. Ooh, that's a good one. It
Yeah.
goes right back to that mortality.
Yeah. Yeah. And just being appreciative and present and absorbing every moment. Like
Yeah.
it's hard, but like there are people in certain situations that would kill to be physically able.
Hmm.
So yeah, I can go outside and do my cardio tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can enjoy it too. Like
Right. Not
enjoy.
dread it.
Hmm.
Yeah. I am
Yeah.
physically able to do this. I'm able-bodied, so do it.
Yep. I love that. Number 17.
The best revenge is not to be like that.
And that's revenge is not. I like it.
Hmm.
I like it.
I mean, it speaks for itself.
It really
This
does.
is something I have done without really knowing.
You really have, especially this last few years. You've really come into your own with this.
Yeah. And it kind of just goes back to not responding out of emotion and controlling your emotions. And like, even if it's mentally, just being like, dude, if I could hold a mirror up to the way that you're acting right now, and if you could see the way that you're acting, I want nothing to do with it. Like,
Hmm.
I'm good. And I think there's so much power in that.
I agree. I also feel like you lessen your word when you go after that revenge or you go after
Mhm.
like the last word. Your word is lessened and it just makes you
Also,
look good.
like, why are you wasting your time?
That's another one. I mean, that could be a whole podcast.
Yeah.
Like,
Great point.
let's just move
Uh,
on. Moving on and just living is going to be the best revenge.
yeah. for sure. Next one.
Be strict with yourself and tolerant with others. Ooh, I like this.
I like that one too.
I don't think there's much that we can add to it, but I like it.
It's controlling yourself, handling yourself, and other people will act as they do, and you can't control other people's actions.
And I
Is
think
what it
it
is.
goes to holding yourself to a high standard and what is that saying? Like rising tides raise all ships or something like that. Like when you lift yourself up, you are going to lift others up. So if you hold yourself to a high standard, naturally others should fall into a higher standard than they usually hold themselves to. So you don't have to be the one that holds them to that high standard.
That, and I think that it's also freeing to not have expectations of others.
Ooh, that's a good one too. And
Yeah.
that's a hard one too.
Hmm. It is. It is really hard because people are going to act as they do.
Hmm.
You can't have strict expectations of other people.
And you are going to save yourself a lot of heartache if
Yeah.
you let go of those.
Yep.
All right, next one. Um,
There you go. Put every impression, emotion to the test before acting on it.
ooh, yeah, these just keep circling back.
Yeah.
It really is just being reflective before you react.
Right.
Um, 20, learn something from everyone. I like
Yeah.
that.
Kind of goes back to us being more reserved and observing over anything.
I love it. And you can learn so much from just observing people, and they don't
Yep.
even know it. They don't know what they're giving off.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
um, focus
Oof. Ooh,
on
ooh, ooh,
process,
ooh.
not outcomes.
Yes. Love that one.
I love this one too.
Love that one a lot. Especially directly applying that to where I am in my off season, right? And everything
Mhm.
leading up to where I am. It's like I'm still not even at the outcome, and I'm just not even close to the outcome. It's been a long fucking journey since the last time I've been on stage in 2021, but the entire process of it, like, worth it. So worth it. Like that is life, is the living, the journey, and of course it all, ties together in the outcome show day, right? But
Mhm.
if I was so focused on that, like it wouldn't it's not as sweet without recognizing every single step of the way there.
Agreed. And where you said that that is the living. Like if you were so focused on show day of you don't know when it's if it's going to be next year or the year after, how many years have you just would have wasted just getting by, getting through another day and barely making it through? It's almost like waiting till Friday, waiting for the weekend.
Or jumping the gun, and if I would have competed this past year or the year prior, right?
Mhm.
Like the outcome isn't going to be as good. I know that this time invested in the process is going to be worth it.
Agreed. That's a good one. And that's a good one, especially like going into New Year's.
Hmm.
Just everyone that's going to be so hyped up for everything that they're wanting in that outcome, just
Yeah.
focusing on the process of what they have to
Yeah.
do.
Day by day, be present.
Mhm. Yep. Just the next right thing. Um, define what success means to you. I like this because I think just even doing a quick reflection of it every day, it's going to set yourself up with the actions that you need to take in order to fulfill that. But it's also going to put yourself in check, especially if you work for someone else. Like their success and your success might be two different things. So, how do you have to act in order to be successful?
Yeah, I really, really like that. I don't have anything to add to it.
Yes, my energy drink is finally working. All right, what's the next one?
Where are we?
23.
Find a way to love everything that happens. Yeah, it's hard to do. It's really hard to do. But I mean,
Yeah.
we've beat this into the ground in a million different episodes that we've done before is, every single thing that happens is purposeful. You can always pull something, a lesson out of it. And
Hmm.
being appreciative of that is so life-changing.
Agreed. Agreed. And I that it's a heavy one and it's a hard one, especially depending on the lesson that you might have to walk through, but there is something that you can find in every single thing.
Yep.
Um, seek
Um,
seek out challenges.
yeah.
This is just like this is I don't even know. Well, where was I going with this? It's just that mental fortitude like that you need to build and you're not going to get it through our society. Like our society sets us up for just being a pile of nothing.
Yeah. And honestly, like right now, this makes me think of exactly what we were talking about, where I was like with my training, right?
Hmm.
Um, being comfortable with, oh, I have to be pulled back right now in my training to where now it's like, no, I have to train till failure. Like
Hmm.
I have limited time to be in this phase, like do the hard shit.
Yep. I love that. And I can tell you, I have had some really big portions of life where I have really great mental fortitude and I like go through those challenges and then pulling back. It's a muscle you have to constantly be throwing yourself into. You have to throw yourself into those challenges or you will get soft. And
And stay stagnant.
yeah. So once you get there, you have to stay up on it.
Yep.
Don't follow the mob. I love it. I tell this to my kids all the time. You're gonna get nowhere.
Continue on with that.
I think you're gonna like you can follow them into like off a cliff. That's what I always think of. You can
Mhm.
follow them off a cliff. You can follow the mob wherever the mob's going to go. But obviously, the last 4 years have shown us that the mob doesn't know where they're freaking going. So you can keep following the mob right down the street. Um, but I've raised my kids, and I was raised that we always think for ourselves. We always think for ourselves. You do right by people, but you're not going to follow them blindly.
Independent thinking is very important.
And I think as parents, especially because I know we have lots of parents that listen, that's something that you have to teach your kids because they will not be taught that anywhere else.
Yeah.
It's such a
Oh,
skill
that's
that
your
is not.
job. Yeah.
It is, but like so many parents don't see it as their job anymore. They don't even see parenting as
Crazy.
their job.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
It it's wild and I see where it happens because it's easy because we are so bogged down by everything else, but you have to remember that it's your job too to keep those kids on the straight and narrow so that they can be adults that are on the straight and narrow.
Yep. Love it. Okay, 26, grab the smooth handle. So
Okay.
I had to look up what this meant because I had no idea. But essentially what it says is the phrase means that in any situation involving give and take between parties, one can approach it roughly or in a conscientious way, adding to the disagreement or in a spirit of cooperation. One can look for the smooth handle to meet all the needs concerned. So like, are we adding gas to the fire? Or like, are we going to move this forward?
I like that. It makes sense now that I listened to it prior.
I said
She
this
read it to me
earlier.
before we started, and I'm like, I got nothing.
And then she went and got an energy drink.
I did, and now I'm like halfway through, so my brain's kind of thinking. But I've been so stuck on like things that I can't control all day that there goes your brain.
Yep.
All right, let me focus.
27.
Every person is an opportunity for kindness.
Yeah.
Ooh, this one's a good one, especially for those people. And I mean, this time of year that are constantly out and they're just crabby. Or the people that we talked about earlier that were just like, are you a good person or are you a bad person?
Yeah. Yep. An opportunity for kindness.
Hmm.
Like also, yeah, just like I don't want to be that person that's putting negative out into the world. So,
Yes. I find myself thinking back on like interactions with people and thinking about like, did I leave them better or did I leave them worse? And I will
mm,
tell you, there's a lot of times where I'm like, I left them worse lately. So just having that little check with yourself, it helps, even if you are a piece of shit in their mind for right now. It's okay. Do better the next time.
God.
Got no filter.
28. Say no a lot.
A lot. I like it. No is a full sentence.
Hmm. Yeah. You don't have to do everything that you're asked to. You don't have to go everywhere if people are inviting you. You don't have to appease other people.
No. And you don't have to give an explanation either. I think that's a big one where you can say no and it's not rude, and that's okay.
You have to fill up your own cup to
Hmm.
be able to do anything else.
Very much so.
Like being selfish is not, there's a difference between like being actually selfish, like an asshole, and like making sure that you're taking care of yourself.
There
And that
is,
means
and
saying
I
no to
feel like
things.
so many people don't see that.
Hmm.
Like when it comes to themselves, when they have to say no, they will feel selfish and they'll just go.
Yeah. You can't just completely give yourself parts of yourself away to everyone else.
Hmm. It's like you have to be in rooms of people not that have earned your time, but are going to bring value to your time in some way,
Yep.
somehow.
Hmm.
All right, let me get this up. 29. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Okay, Sarah.
Well, this ties great into our next episode that we already recorded.
That you guys will hear next week.
Yeah, we jumbled things around a little bit, but no, yeah, don't be afraid to ask for help. It's hard to do.
Hmm.
It's real hard to do. We
Very.
don't, well, we literally do an entire episode on pretty much this. So we don't even have to say anything else.
No, you guys can listen to next week and we'll dive deep into this one because that's a big one for us. All right, round us off with number 30.
Find one thing that makes you wiser every day. I like
Oh,
that.
yeah. I really like that. It's
It's,
just that sharpening your swords, sharpening your senses every single day.
yeah, it doesn't have to be something in depth. Um, but I think it keeps you moving forward.
Hmm. And keeps you in check too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like it. That was a good list. What I was gonna ask if you're doing like a vision board or are you doing anything for New Year's? I know you're not a vision board person, but like, do you kind of like
No.
put an idea of what you want for the next year out there?
I have a lot coming up. Um, a lot that I didn't know was coming
A
up.
wedding.
Yeah. That's like, I gotta figure that out.
I've been seeing lots of elopements lately, and I'm like, it looks pretty good. My vote.
I don't disagree.
No, I kind of do the same. I used to do a vision board, and I honestly might do one this year just because I am so unsharpened right now, and I need to find myself again.
Yeah.
That I think I need that for myself,
It
but
might be a good like recentering.
I need it. I I really do. And it doesn't mean that it has to start on January 1st, but just like there's been so much this year. Like I need to close out this year and leave this one behind.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
Um, it's been very transformative, but again, like you've learned a lot from it. And I think that
yeah.
there's a lot of value in that for you moving forward into the next year.
hmm And I was even talking with Tristan because he's had a hell of a year.
Mm.
And he's like, this has been a really hard year. I'm like, bud, you're going to have these years. You're going to have these years going forward. And learning to ebb and flow in it is a skill. And like the fact that he is learning this so young, like is as much of it is heartbreaking as a mom. Like he's going to be so much more ready for the world in front of him than myself at 15. That
And you know
had it
what?
pretty
Like
easy.
that's I think really important because I think a lot of the upcoming generation doesn't have enough hard shit thrown at them that makes them grow up. And it's just continuing to soften people as they are getting older. And it's like, you know what?
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, the hard shit is purposeful. And honestly, it's like the younger the better, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. To
Everything
be
is
able to
not going to
learn.
be handed to you on a silver platter. Like you're going to have to learn how to figure shit out
Hmm.
and get through shit
Agreed.
and realize that you can get through shit.
Agreed. Agreed. And realize that years are going to be shitty and it's going to be shitty moments every single year. And it's not to throw away the whole year as you go into.
Right. Right. Don't sit in that and carry it. Don't
Hmm.
continue to carry that weight because that's a choice. Um, but use that experience moving forward
I
because
agree.
that's what builds us as humans. So,
Yeah. I'm ready. All right. Well, Happy New Year, guys. We will see you next week and we will dive more into number 29 in that episode. So
yes, it's a good one.
it is a good one. All right. Thanks, guys.